Okay. Hello, everybody. It's good to be here, or here as in on Zoom. I wish I could be there in person, but Zoom is a good replacement for in-person readings at this time. Um, my name, by the way, is Luke Stromberg. I'm a poet and I'm a professor. I teach. I'm an adjunct professor at Eastern University and LaSalle University in the Philadelphia area. And it's good to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And I'd like to thank everybody with Cathedral Arts for inviting me. I've actually been to the Cathedral of All Saints in Albany before. My brother, Father Matt Stromberg, is a rector at St. George's Church in Schenectady. So I've actually been to the cathedral with him. It's a beautiful, beautiful church. I look forward to being there again someday. Um, but okay, so I'm going to read some poems. I'm going to start off with this poem. It's probably my most successful poem. You know, if people know my work at all, they probably know this poem. Um, it's based on an old family story. Uh, it's called The Elephant's Mouth. What's it take to join the circus? My father asked. A gang of workers were putting up a tent, big hammers ringing on the pegs in rhythm. I'm thinking that I'd like to join up with you guys. This was 45 or thereabout, I'd guess, when the circus used to come to town each year. My father was just a boy then, 8 or 9. Their train would rumble past his house on Guilford Road. Well, to join the circus, one offered, you gotta be brave. He leaned on his hammer and mopped his brow with his shirt. Are you brave, kid? He asked, appraising my father, who, conscious of the chuckling men, answered, I'm brave. Enough to stick your head up in an elephant's mouth? The workers gathered, happy for a break. I ain't afraid, he said, a bit less certain. Well, come on then. I know just the elephant. The animal was penned up in a tent nearby. Pulling back the flap, the man said, You're sure? I'm sure, my father said. Not sure at all. Not when he saw it stamp its mud-splattered feet. Held by his knees, my father was raised up to its mouth, and he did it, stuck his head inside, to the delight of all the roaring men. Then eyes shut tight, pulled free, his bravery made clear. Whatever my father felt inside that creature's mouth, I'll never know. I've looked at elephants, chewing grass or slack-jawed in repose, and wondered, is it hot in there? Do they have teeth? My eyes were closed, my father says. I can't remember. I try to place myself within that tent. You weren't even thought of then, he laughs. I was a different person. So much has happened since. He thinks they told him that he should come back when he was older, that he was grade A circus material, and gave him passes to the show that night, which must have been at least a little disappointing. How does a kid go back to St. Cyril's after that? Desk of unworldly children blotting ink, a sister with her yardstick in the aisle, the wide blackboard that seemed to bar the way to fun. Within a few brief days, the tents were all brought down, and then the neighborhood was taken back by normal people and their normal task. No snakeskin man walked to the corner store for smokes. One of the hardest things I've ever had to do was to let go of my belief, long held, that I was set apart for something special, blessed by distinction, like a high wire trapeze artist. And to be honest, I'm not sure I have let go. The illustrated woman haunts my nights with promises of some lost and unclaimed life. I have to will myself to go to work each day. But sometime in his 20s, my father married my mother. He sold his red hot rod convertible and then acquired a mortgage and raised 5 boys. For 30 some odd years, he worked for the school district. Today, my father lives just blocks from Guilford Road. No tent has gone up in the field for decades. The train line that ran through is long since gone, and he hardly can remember that elephant at all. Um, so I don't write devotional poetry. I don't write explicitly Christian poems, um, but sometimes um, Christian ideas or themes or references do get into my work. Sometimes I explore, some philosophical questions about faith and so forth. So I picked a couple poems um, that I might read that sort of touch on those things. Um, I'll leave it up to you to see to make the connections. This is kind of an older poem. It's called "Man Interrogating a Rose." Bent over a flower bed, poised above a rose, I watch him like he's some sad tourist. Khaki shorts, sandals, a 3-day beard, a Panama hat shading his eyes. He caresses the petals like you would touch a girl's cheek. I can see his lips move, but cannot hear. Is he whispering love words to this rose? Or does he, like us, have questions? What's it like to always have to keep your head up? Why does twilight and autumn taste like apples? How is it that my wife's hands can get so cold? Does he expect this rose of all roses to listen, care? That's a damned odd thing to do, to talk to a flower, to ask a rose whose voice that is, trapped in the wind, or why, in that not too far off, death waits with a sick grin and morning breath, like a pastor by the doors at the end of a service. We all find a reason to get up in the morning. The kids drive to school, baseball, rock and roll, money, the girl at the Starbucks. We all want it to mean something. On Monday, in an office with dust on the windows, I will feed hundreds of yellowing pages, memos, construction plans, records of other men's work, one by one into a scanner, where they will be saved on a computer as crude images, never to be consulted and probably forgotten. I've been doing this for months, and yet I have the nerve to ask why anyone would talk to a rose. This is another older poem. It's called On the Edge of Night. It's a villanelle. The dogs are barking at the edge of night. The trees are black, the sky a frosty gray. We are no longer sure of what is right. Our prayers can only reach a certain height. They struggle in the air and go astray, while dogs keep barking at the edge of night. The church's spire is not a welcome sight. The preacher's sermons have become passé. We are no longer sure of what is right. God's angels fold their wings and hide their light from those who listen for their harps to play, but hear only dogs at the edge of night. We wonder why our lives have lost their bite. The past is lost, so lonely, so far away. We seem to have forgotten what is right. Yet still I come back to my desk to write my songs, though they die in the mouth of day. Though dogs are barking at the edge of night, I have not lost the taste for what is right. Um, okay, I'm gonna read this other poem. This is a little bit more recent. Not a little bit, a lot more recent actually. Um, when I mentioned, oh yeah, I was invited to read at this cathedral, in Albany, and people were like, at a church. Well, you're not going to read that poem, are you? Um, and you'll see why. It's called "On Not Attending Church," right? So, obviously, it's about that and expresses some ambivalence, I think, about going to church. But I think that people sometimes take it to be one way when it's not really. I actually see it as, again, a little bit more ambivalent. And I intended it, at least, and I think of it as being one of my more Christian poems, not in the sense that it's a devotional poem, but that it struggles with some of those things and questions them. Um, so, I mean, maybe keep an open mind and see what you think. On not attending church. Church, I'm sad to say, is boring. I can admit it now. All that up and down for listless singing over blaring organ music, the pastor straining at the pulpit. It feels a little less than sacred. We sat up in the balcony, my family and I, in a row of aluminum folding chairs most Sundays of my younger years. I felt a sense of duty then that lingers as a guilty feeling when I sleep until 11 on Sunday mornings now. I'll still show up for Christmas Eve or Easter to stick a 20 in the plate and wonder why God's famous grace hasn't swelled my meager heart. But I stay greedy with my life. I asked my dad one time, as he stood shaving by the bathroom mirror, what heaven would be like. He stirred his razor in murky water and told me, no one really knows, son. But we'll all be together there. You, me, your mom, your brothers, and we'll rejoice and praise God's name forever, knowing that he loves us all. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Sounded a lot like church to me. I pictured the saints in folding chairs or crowding wooden pews, a service lasting an eternity, without even a cookout to look forward to, and tried to hide my disappointment, my feeling that there must be more. I've always wanted something more from church, from work, from love. Too often, my life resembles a tasteless meal. I pick away, feeling bored, pretending that I'm satisfied, and leave the table hungry still. But surely it's better to go to church than watch the Sunday shows. Who knows? The hound of heaven may catch me yet. I read red lettered text with longing, hoping that it finally will. Meanwhile, the boring churches wait. Okay, thank you, everybody. Um, Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening. I'm going to read one more poem. This is called Epithalamion, and I wrote it on the occasion of my brother, Father Matt's wedding to his wife, April. Um, and it makes a reference, an allusion to the Song of Songs in the beginning. Again, this is called Epithalamion. Today, let's put aside our cynicism. The girl who searched all night, asking the watchman for news of her love gone missing, finally has found him. So just this once, we can believe again. The boy can rest, his heart at peace. Let all the vanquished angels find the voice we thought they lost, and foul now turn to fair. So all the saps that failed at love may find redress. Alert the sun to burn the smoggy air, and fill this church to prove to them that sometimes we are allowed a chance to win. For love may be soft knocking at your door, or may come hard like rain that swells the air all summer, then teems on roofs and thrashing wind and thunder. But love is not too much to ask for, and though these lovers, like us, know nothing for sure, the purpose of this hour is understood. Today he gives his life to her to change for good. Thank you, everybody.